All right. So September 4th, Thursday, the opener for pro football. Who do you want to see the Eagles play? Hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to check out Birds 365 each and every single morning, Monday through Friday. Without further ado, Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
How you doing, man? Hey, who do you want to see the Eagles play?
In the opener?
Yeah.
I like what you said with the Bills. I was thinking a sleeper team could be, they're probably not going to use the Lions because they'll save that for later in the year. I was thinking the same with the Commanders. As good as that would be, the NFL will probably want those games for later in the year because you're going to get a good rating week one anyway. What about the Bears with their new coach, Caleb Williams, new coach, all the new weapons there? They got the offensive line intact a little bit. I could see that one, but the Bills would be great. I just didn't know if they would use one of our AFC opponents in that week one.
How about Cowboys?
Cowboys would be great. Cowboys, look, I've been saying,
TV ratings, the Cowboys.
Exactly. And I don't think the Cowboys are going to be as bad as Eagles fans think, or as bad as you think. Forget Eagles fan. You think they're going to be shitty. They're getting Dak back. I think they're going to be another 8, 9, 10 win team right in there. And I think the Cowboys would be a great one, man. Eagles, Cowboys to kick off the NFL season, that would be a banger.
Massive TV numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so what listen, I'm actually one of the few things I agree with John on. I agree with him on this. This tush push conversation is nauseating. But all that being said, how do you think this thing gets resolved here? Probably like around Wednesday. Do you think they ban it or do they modify it?
I don't know. I think they're going to let it go now. I don't think they're going to have enough support with the way they're wording it. I mean, all these dudes talking about safety, it's already been fucking we're playing football, you know? Yeah. And outside of that fact, they've already done all these studies and looked into whether the tush push and quarterback sneaks are causing, too many injuries per play. And they're not at all. There's been no evidence of it. They've already disputed the whole thing. So what's his name? Sean McDermott's sitting up there saying that's a big factor. It's not a factor. If you want to, I thought the best approach, and I differ from John a little bit in this. He wanted a different approach too, more about the pace of play and everything. I would more go at the fact that 60 million people watched a 10-minute sequel in the NFC Championship game of Frankie Louvu jumping over the center like a dumbass. Like you could make the argument to the league, hey, that's not really great for our game. But nobody wanted to make that argument. They made it all about safety, which was stupid. The tush push will stand, and it will come back for next year.
I think this is the Philly rule. I think it's completely after.
I love it.
Eagles. It's the Philly rule.
No. Don't call it the Philly rule. It's the Jalen Hurts rule, baby.
It's the Philly rule here. And I said this, one of the things that I think the league hates about it, I think it's a TV thing. I think they don't like the way that.
Yeah, it's not good TV. I mean, come on.
It's not good TV.
From a straight entertainment perspective, it's not good TV.
No, it's not good TV, right? And that's all they give a shit about gambling, and they care about, some of the rule changes that they have. So they want to be able to throw a flag from New York City or pick a flag up, but they won't do it for a quarterback, but they'll do it for a punter.
Yeah, right.
On protecting the punter. I don't know. All right, Zander. So you tell me if you agree with this one here. Do you think Jeffrey Lurie got lucky with Howie Roseman when he didn't completely blow him out of the building? Can you imagine the Carolina Panthers or the Chicago Bears could have called up and went, hey, I'm going to hire Howie. They would have taken him right away because he was already put to the side. Do you think they just got lucky by not firing him? Or do you think that was something that he had in his mind all along, that if this didn't work out with Chip, he was going to put him back in there? Because it just seems to me he got lucky with Hurts. Then he got lucky keeping Howie. But that kind of stuff doesn't look like luck. It looks like
here's the problem. So if you get lucky so many times, at what point is it not luck? All right. You're creating luck. You're creating your opportunities and you're creating your fate because of the decisions you make. Now, I don't think it was either, honestly. I don't think it was complete luck in that he didn't expect any of this from Howie. And I don't think it was, he knew exactly what Howie was going to be. I think it was, he saw potential in Howie, probably liked him as a guy for his organization, knew what he could do, with the checkbook, with the salary cap, with all those things in the background that Howie came from. Didn't want to completely boot him out because remember, when he went to Chip, that was unconventional for Jeffrey Lurie that time too. So maybe he thought of it as a safety net, and then it worked out for everybody. I don't think it was one or the other. I know you don't like that answer, but I don't think it was Lurie getting completely lucky, and I don't think it was, the vice versa either. But I think it was a good combination, and I think Howie benefited from it. Look, most organizations wouldn't put you in the broom closet. They would fire you. So I think Howie got a little lucky too, in that he got an owner that was willing to see it through on him and give him another chance later. And then I think Lurie got lucky in that Howie, took it personally and became one of the best general managers in football.
Here's the latest on the tush push. GM Brad Holmes came out on the Packers' proposed ban on the play. Eagles came up with it. They're effective at it. They're good at it. So if you don't like it, stop it. That's our stance. Other teams have tried it and not been as effective. Kudos to them. Here's Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, on the Packers' proposed ban on the play. We're against banning it right now. The Eagles are good at it, plain and simple. Give Philly and Nick Sirianni credit for being that damn good at it. This is where we are. Unless there's health or safety issues, I don't see any reason to ban that play. So I'm starting to agree with you. I think a lot of people are looking at it like, hey, they came up with it. If you don't like the play, stop it. I think with Sean McDermott, again, I think because they got him on the schedule, they don't want to see that thing coming up against them. I wouldn't either, but I'm starting to believe you guys, man, you and John. I think they're probably going to modify it. Probably not this year. They'll shelf it for the competition committee. But I think that play will be intact for the 25 season.
I agree on 25. The future, who knows? The one thing I pointed out this morning is it's clear which way the trend is going. And you've been covering this game, playing this game for a long time. As you know, once the league gets something in their sights, it might not happen right away, but eventually they will be swayed far enough and they will outlaw it. So it's coming soon, but who knows when it will be. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but it's coming for sure.
31 days until Jordan Davis's contract has to be resolved on the fifth-year option. And I said this earlier in the show. I think you pick that fifth year up because it's financially cheaper. And if that thing comes down on 32 in 24 days, and the kid from Michigan, Ole Miss, or Oregon are there, I say they draft that one of those three guys because you kind of have to let the board fall. I think some of these edge rushers, in my opinion, will probably be pushed down because of some of the quarterbacks. Maybe a couple extra running backs are going to go into the draft and go into the first round. Maybe a sneaky wide receiver hits in there. It's been a really bad evaluation on the wide receiver group. But if that happens, you get a good edge. Maybe he trades up in the second round, takes one of those fives or two of those fives to move up in the second round so he can get one of those guys. But I think they're going to take a DT because to me, you said, I'll tell you where I got this topic from. You're right, Zander. If Nolan Smith has success, you're going to be talking of paying him $25 million, are you not?
Minimum. If he
you're
does,
not paying.
What did I project? I projected what, 12 sacks for Nolan?
$25 million.
If he gets 12 sacks, you're going to pay him, you're going to pay Carter.
And a 3-year deal.
And that's where I think the Jalen Hurts topic that you brought up is kind of interesting because they obviously have him under contract. There's no issue there. But you know how agents get. Josh Allen just got a new deal with 4 years remaining. They're talking about Lamar's new deal. Are they going to give Jalen a new deal next year with Jalen Carter, with Nolan Smith, with all these guys that got to extend? I don't see it next year either. So I think there's a big crux of contract situations coming up here where the Eagles are going to have to make some decisions. And I think Jordan makes sense at 12 million. I just don't know.
Not 18.
Right. And that's the weird part about this is that the Eagles don't typically play the 5th-year option game because once you lock that in, you can't manipulate the capital. You can't manipulate the cap hit, the cash, any of the things that the Eagles like to manipulate. So you can't even put void years on the deal like they always do. I mean, let's be real. Howie just put void years on Josh Uche's $1 million deal. That's how much he uses void years. So they don't like to play that game. But if they're not going to play that game, is that going to come with an extension? Then you're talking about how much money. It's an interesting situation. But I would probably pick up Carter's option just because 12 is now a bargain at tackle position. So I think I'd probably pick it up.
Here's where the finances are for the Eagles right now. They got a total cap of $290.3. Cap space is $17.9 million. And they got dead cap money, which is third, $65 million. That's a lot of money there for them. And again, this is why you said it perfectly last week. And now I knew why, Zander, after looking at the money. It's not that they have money issues. It's that they're balancing their money issues.
Right.
Because that number's starting to get high here because am I right? Am I wrong here? If you move off of Dallas Goedert before June 1, isn't there more money of dead cap money added to that? If you end up getting rid of him before June 1, this is why Minnesota's not signing Aaron Rodgers right now because they want to wait until after the draft because of the comp picks.
Yep. That's what basically everything is happening right now. That's why there's a standstill on people who are still out there that they don't want to get signed. That's what they're doing. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's going to go their way with all that stuff, but I mean, what are we going to do? They're going to sit here. They're going to wait it out probably. And with Dallas Goedert, I don't see him coming back. Do you? Don't. I mean, Howie spoke today, by the way. I was trying to find the clip to read you what Howie said. Howie spoke with Kay Adams. He was on the Kay Adams show today. And I don't know. Kay has a weird way to get people to speak about shit. I don't know. Maybe it's the eyes. Maybe it's something about Kay. Yeah, right. Maybe it's something about Kay Adams. She's got people talking, but
her and I are friends.
Basically broke out like, hey, we love CJ Gardner-Johnson, but we got 12 dudes or whatever it was that are making $12 million. We got, 5-6 draft picks that are playing on rookie deals that have contracts coming up. We got draft picks in the future that we got to make. We got to make some business decisions here. And Howie kind of worded it well, but Dallas is probably going to be gone. I mean, Howie's response was, there's no update on that front yet. I mean, he's gone. They're not going to get him back. At least I don't think so.
Probably something post-draft that ends up happening.
If they don't bring Goedert back and their solution is Harrison Bryant and Grant Calcaterra, I'm immediately putting that on the worst move of the offseason, and we have to see how that plays out. Now, maybe it would work out, and I could be wrong, but as it stands today, that would be the worst move of the offseason by far.
How about this? Let me throw these questions at you then. What have been the Eagles' most concerning moves, or maybe not, to you so far this offseason? What would you put as a number one? Would it be the Gardner-Johnson one?
I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be just because you had an asset, a good player under contract who was already signed, was making pretty team-friendly money. I mean, he was making $8 million. Like, look around at what safeties are making. They're talking about giving.
He was expected to make 11.2 this year.
Okay, but still, either way, I mean, he's still at 11.2. That's not crazy money for a guy that was a turnover machine and a ball hawk type of player for that defense. So I'd say it would have to be that move just because Milton was a free agent. Josh was a free agent. All the free agents, you knew there was a chance they weren't going to come back. Isaiah and the backups were backups. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to keep them, but you know that there's a possibility you don't. CJ was the one move that was out of character or out of what we expected. And you also created another hole there, so that would be the number one move. The number two move, I'd put Slay. You let Slay go for 10 mil, which I think is too expensive. I probably wouldn't have paid him that either. But, speaking of the secondary, you just talked about, they play a zone-based system. There's no lockdown corners. I mean, we all love Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but they weren't lockdown
And
corners.
they're exceptional at what they do.
Exactly, but they're not that type of corner. So now you're taking away the veteran guy who probably did a lot of the communication. What is that going to look like? So, and on top of that, with CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's 2 spots lost in your secondary. So I'd probably put CJ at 1, Slay at 2, and then I'd put Sweat or Milton, vice versa, whatever one you want to go with, at 3 probably.
Well, let me ask you something. You bring a great point up about Goedert. There's not a plan to replace him as of now.
Not right now.
There's not. That's it, guys. Do me a favor, please. Let's get this up over 200, please. The likes. I appreciate you guys. Zander, there's not a plan to replace him. How do you gauge the plan to replace Slay? Would you say it's in the same conversation as Goedert?
No.
Keely Ringo's not a replace. That's not a plan.
I mean, you're right. He's not really a replacement. I mean, not yet. But the fact is they did spend the draft pick with the hope to be him to be the replacement. Now, I know it's hope, but at the end of the day, you have to build a roster. There will never be a team in the NFL, in the history of the NFL, in March that you'll look at the entire starting 22 and say there's no one you have questions on, because part of building a roster is evaluation of talent and getting guys you believe are going to get better, right? That's what drafting is, right? I mean, you don't know what you're drafting. You're hoping based on your evaluation and the work that you do that they're going to work out. So you have a little bit of that on this roster where you're hoping guys pan out. But they did spend the 4th on Keely for this reason. They didn't do that at tight end. They could have drafted a tight end last year. They didn't. I mean, you got Grant Calcaterra. I guess they drafted him. Would they spend a 6th-round pick on him 3 years ago? He doesn't do what Goedert does. I mean, I don't think they even drafted him for this. I think they drafted him to be the second fiddle to Goedert.
As a pass catcher.
As a pass catcher. So I don't really know what the plan is here.
They're trying to piecemeal that position too.
Yeah, and maybe it won't work out so bad, Sills, because what did we talk about all year last year? Jalen doesn't – I mean, this offense doesn't really use that many pass catchers. No, the thing you lose with Goedert –
they don't use the middle of the field.
No, they didn't. I mean, Goedert had like 500 yards last year. Didn't he? I mean, am I off? How many?
No. He missed a ton of games, but that's normal. I mean, yeah.
But didn't the one game – I mean –
I think he had 600.
He had 496 yards last year.
Okay.
And remember, Sills, there was one game he had 175. Remember that?
Yeah, that was the Saints game?
It was the Saints or the but one of those games early. Yes, one of those early games in the year. So 496 yards and 175 came in one game. That means 13 games. He played, I think, 14 games last year. That means 13 games he got 300 yards. You know, maybe they're right in that we're losing a good player, but maybe it won't affect us as much as we think because the player wasn't that big of a part of the offense.
Are you worried about the linebacker position going into when do they start workouts? I think they start April 21st. They start their workouts, and the 2 guys that won't be on the field will be Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean because of injuries, both of them. Are you concerned at all with any of that as they get ready and prepping for the upcoming year? Let me ask you something here about both those guys. Those guys really one had a really good finish. One had a pretty solid season the entire year. And here again, you're missing reps and you're missing on-field activities with the team. That shit stunts your growth a bit as a player because the more reps you get, the better you become. Anything you do in life, Zander, the more you do it, the better you get at it, whether it's in OTAs. And get this, my OTAs in Philadelphia going against Saquon Barkley and going against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and going against that type of players, A.J. Dillon, what have you, that O-line. My camp is different than your camp because I'm going against the world champion O-line. So I'm getting quality reps every time I'm on the field. I think that hurts these guys when you go forward and you don't have these guys on the field. I mean, are you concerned with that? Because you think you don't have a problem. You think Nolan Smith is going to be just fine and taking over for the production of Josh Sweat, right?
I mean, I think he's going to – I'm not saying that, but I'm going to say he's going to be he is going to take another step forward, which would insinuate he's going to be that type of a player. So yes, I am going to say that. And about missing time in camp, obviously not ideal, but let me throw something at you. And maybe this is off base, but while 95% of the league was sipping mojitos and margaritas in Cancun and on cruise ships and in Miami and in Bahamas and wherever the hell they go, Nolan and the Eagles were still working for an extra month. Now, that's not the same thing.
No, it's huge.
You're still missing camp, but I'm just saying he did have an extra month of football there. I do think that helped him develop as a player because those were obviously big games with the bright lights. And you're gonna miss camp, but I don't think that's going to slow him down in terms of game speed. I think he got enough reps of game speed last year, especially in the playoffs, that are going to help him with that. Now, with Nakobe Dean, that's a little bit more of a concern because is he going to be ready for the start of the year? Probably not. I mean, it's possible, but probably not. Do you feel good about Trotter? I feel pretty good about Trotter because I like his instinct. I think instinct is going to work better at that linebacker position for a Vic Fangio defense. I like Trotter, but unproven and hope. Back to that word, and I think that's a little bit of it.
Absolutely, man. All right. So we agree. When we made the comments, and you did, and a lot of people have, you should be writing checks to Jalen Carter if you're Josh Sweat and you're Milton Williams. Well, let me ask you this here. You're comfortable with Moro Ajomo. You're comfortable with guys that they've brought in, and I'm just throwing it out like this, that the guys that they've brought in, all these edge guys that they brought in, if I'm going to pay $42 million or $40 million to Jalen Carter, aren't I trying to get the very best talented players I possibly can to play next to him? Why am I downgrading that? When I'm on offense, I've got the number one left tackle or one of the top 3 tackles in the sport. I've got one of the top 2 guards in the left guard spot. I've got one of the top centers in the sport. I've got a Hall of Fame right tackle, and I've got an MVP candidate at running back and quarterback, and the receivers, they speak for themselves. Why am I piecemealing 2 guys in the front 4, guys on the free agent market? Aren't I trying to put as many great players around Jalen Carter also as possible? I mean, hey, we can all say here that we believe these guys, but at the end of the day, I know this, that right guard position, you know why we all feel pretty good that anybody can go in there and play relatively well? Because Cam or Jason Kelsey and Lane and Stoutland are involved in that process. Hey, we feel good that Vic's going to find a guy, but dude, I also want top-end guys. If I'm going to invest that kind of money, why am I going to invest $42 million and have guys who are $5 D linemen next to me? Does that make sense to you?
It makes complete sense, but I think the answer is simpler than you think. I mean, because of what you just said, because of what you just laid out, think about that offense you just laid out. And you're not wrong in the premise of look at what you do for Jalen Hurts, building everything around him. Why aren't you doing the same for Carter? And I think the easy answer is, well, you can't. You paid everybody on offense. You can't do that on defense. You just can't. There's not enough money. There's not enough
that side of the ball suffers then.
So exactly. And the other response would be, it's very clear that the Eagles prioritize offense more than they prioritize defense. They look at spots on defense more expendable than they do on offense. Now, what I'm interested to see is, how does that shift, Sills, in the next 2-3 years? Because you're not going to let Carter
I
walk.
heard you ask John that. I think John's right, though.
Yeah.
I think John's right in the fact that they're going to stay to their guns and staying on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're going to put long-term contracts on the offensive side. And Zander, I don't think you'll see more than 2 or 3 year deals to these positions. And I'm not even going to name names unless it's Carter. Carter, maybe, you know what? Let me ask you this. Do you think Howie's changed his position on linebackers, or do you think he changed his position on Zach Bond?
I don't think he really proved that he changed any position yet. I think you had an first team all pro player. I mean,
so it was the player, not the position.
It was definitely the player, not the position. And here's the other thing. I mean, and you're bringing up good points about the defense, but dude, nobody on that defense was paid. Like it's one thing to draft players, get rookie contracts, and have a good defense with good players on those rookie contracts. It's another thing to give them second contracts. The only guy paid on that defense last year really was Darius Slay. Think about it. Josh Sweat took a pay cut. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, all rookie deals. Moro Ajomo, rookie deal. Nakobe Dean, rookie deal. Zach Bond, Temu signing. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I guess, got paid. Reed Blankenship, undrafted free agent, restricted rights deal. Nobody on that defense was paid. Now Zach Bond's paid. You know, and you let Milton and Sweat walk. I don't know how many more of these guys are going to pay. I mean, the philosophy is pretty clear, but you're going to have to pay more of them. I mean, even with Jalen Carter, you don't right now. You're not paying him $40 million. You're not going to let him walk. So what does that change? It's got to change something.
And there's a pack of money coming along with it. By the way, all supers go to the top. Please hit that like button. What do you make of this next year or this coming season, this fall? You play Josh Allen. You play Dak. You play Jordan Love. You play Patrick Mahomes. You play Justin Herbert. You play Russell Wilson, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, who had a good year, Matthew Stafford, and Baker Mayfield. Those are 12 quarterbacks that you're going to line up against, and you see Daniels and Dak twice. Russell will yet to be determined on how that thing will look in New York. I'm not expecting a lot there in New York. And by the way, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers will sign with Minnesota. That'll change that dynamic if he signs in Minnesota because he would make them better, him signing in Minnesota versus J.J. McCarthy. So I'm kind of hanging out and waiting to see what happens there. But, I mean, and get this, Zen, people will look at it and go, well, we'll be fine. I'm like, well, dude, you got 5 new players on defense starting for you. That's a brand new looking group. I know Vic's back. But Vic said it to you. Schemes are great. Players make them. And so, I mean, that's quite a challenge when you've got that. Plus, you're going to be playing a ton of teams that either won a division or made the playoffs last year. You're taking on a number 1 schedule this coming season versus Washington, who's not.
Yeah, you got a good schedule, but it doesn't scare me. It certainly doesn't scare me. I mean, I look at, and I'm not trying to take away from those. Those are great players, a lot of great coaches there. But, here's the thing that Eagle fans have the right to feel. Jalen Hurts took down Mahomes. Jalen Hurts took down Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts was 2-0 versus Jaden Daniels last year. Jalen Hurts has been better than most of these quarterbacks year in and year out, or has at least beat them in head-to-head. And then go to the coach. Look at the coaches. What's Nick Sirianni's record against a lot of these coaches? I mean, it's good. I forget somebody did it. I think it was actually Krause did it on the 2-minute drill where he broke down and said, these are the toughest opponents. This is how the quarterback matches up versus them. This is how the head coach matches up versus against them. So they're good. They're good opponents. They're great, but I don't fear them coming in. We're the one that's hard. All right. The Bills have to play us. The Chiefs have to play us. The NFC North has to play the Eagles.
Yeah, but I think it's a cumulative. It's not.
It's a cumulative thing. You're right. It's a harder
it's a
overall
cumulative thing of playing. Zander, I'm not saying that you can't. If you're like one of those Nick Saban Alabama teams, that you're not the best team in the SEC. But when you play LSU and you play Georgia and you play A&M week in week out, and you're playing a top-end NFL schedule week in and week out, like in 23, that's the war of attrition starting to bang on you a little bit where you don't have a week off where you could turn around and play Carolina one week and have Carolina there sitting there. You're going to be taking on the Bills, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Chargers. I'm talking about cumulative. What people think, nobody's saying you're not better than them.
Yeah, no, I know.
But it's the week in and week out thing you're doing.
Well, here's my response, because you're right 100%.
Are you deep enough?
Are you deep enough is a fair question, but we're good. Welcome to being good. Right, Sills? I mean, this is when you become a great team, this is what happens. They're rich people problems. You want to not be rich? You want to go back to being the Panthers and have a shitty schedule, Eagle fans? Or do you want to have a couple tougher schedules, a couple tougher games because you're a championship organization? I'll take that all day. Those problems don't scare me. They're rich people problems, and I'd rather be rich, Big Sills.
Hey, man, couple last ones here for you. One to the end here. So tell me this: when we were talking about, big questions that whether or not you would have a problem with some of the things that they've done, I looked it up. I got the NFL Players Association number. You mean to tell me you only cleared $3 million on that extension for Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, we didn't clear much. Howie already spoke about it today. Makes sense what they did.
Okay, well, for $3 million?
Well, this is why. Howie, when he was talking about the contract,
and you cut loose of Isaiah Rodgers or an Oren Burks who you could have had for cheap. I mean, they would create depth for you.
This is more about macro, Sills. This is more about perception because hear me out. The owner, the GM care about perception. You had a guy sign here for $12 million a year, okay, who was making less than Christian McCaffrey, who was making less than many wide receiver threes are making, and he set records for this team, and he did unbelievable things for this city. Howie spoke about it today on the Kay Adams show. We want to reward that type of work. If you come here and you do that, and you're that exceptional, this is an organization that will reward you. Now, we can't reward it. We can't be crazy, but for what he did, when we look around the league at what skill position players are making, what Saquon was making, he earned every dollar. And I think it's a good thing, Sills, because you want to be a destination for great players. You do. And I think that great players see that, and I thought that was a good move for them, even if you don't save much. I called it, by the way, after the end of the season. I said, look out, Saquon's going to get an extension. John didn't want to hear it. That's what happened, and I don't disagree with the move at all. I think it's more about the culture. It's more about showing other players what you're willing to do if you come here and do great things. They did it for Bond. They did it for Saquon this year. I thought both of them were the right move, regardless of what you got out of it.
I would have extended Jalen. Jalen made more sense to me. He'd been here longer. He won the MVP.
Yeah, but
he took all the heat. He signed a good contract that was friendly to you. I mean, Barkley had 2 years remaining on it. I mean, you see now they're talking. I mean, Allen got an extension. Lamar's going to get an extension. There's no way in hell they're extending him. No way this offseason. They're going to not extend the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, doesn't it make sense you would have done Jalen before you would have done a guy with 2 years remaining on his deal to get only $3 million in cap space? I don't know, man. I would have went with the guy who's been here longer, done more, been more important, and took more heat and all the shit that he's had to take. Wouldn't you have rewarded the Super Bowl MVP over him?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen got a massive deal, though. I mean, Jalen set the market at quarterback.
All these quarterbacks have massive deals.
I know, but it's a little bit different. I mean, Saquon Barkley did not get that type of deal. He didn't. He wasn't even the highest paid running back in the NFL. Sills. I mean, I know. And he literally had more rushing yards than any running back ever in the history of the long storied NFL. I think it was very obvious why they gave him a new deal. While I get it, I get what you're saying. You didn't really get much out of it and you had other needs. I understand why they did it for sure.
Well, I hope he has a really productive next 3 years. I really do. I'm really hoping because the quarterback is more important, in my opinion, than any position in your huddle. And I want to make sure that guy, in my opinion, is the guy. Now, maybe they're waiting for the Jalen Carter money and they're going to restructure Hurts's contract during that time.
I could see that.
Using his money because he has the bigger number, right? Maybe in this coming offseason, they probably use that.
What contract did the Eagles get more value out of this year? Jalen Hurts at $50 million, $51 million, or Saquon at 13?
Zach Bond.
Saquon's the most valuable. But outside of Saquon, Saquon Barkley was a freaking steal, man. $12 million. Are you kidding me? Devontae Smith makes 25. I love you, Devontae, but you're not Saquon. AJ makes 32. I love you, AJ, but you're not Saquon. I mean, $12 million. He was underpaid. And I know it's the running back market, but I don't have an issue with them giving him that deal.
D tackle, 32. Remember I said it. If we have any supers, let's read them. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit that like button. You've been absolutely fantastic. We appreciate
you. The bench. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing good. Member for 4 months. Thank you. He says that's the difference this year. There are no get-right games, but if it makes us a 10-win team and more battle-tested, Philly will be scary in the playoffs.
How about this? What if they take a step back and win 12 and still win the Super Bowl? Can that be a possibility?
Absolutely. And fans should be ready for and embrace that. Because here's the thing. We've moved into a different territory now. All right? You're Super Bowl champs again. You're the second time in 8 years Super Bowl champs, and you were at 2 in 3 years. You've moved into Chiefs territory. Remember what the Chiefs last year, when they were halfway through the year, and everybody was like, oh, the Chiefs don't quite look as sane. They're losing some game. Oh, what happened? They got into the playoffs. That's all they cared about. Get into the playoffs, win your games from there. If you're the Eagles, you're moving into new territories, okay? Our good seasons are no longer defined by winning 14 games.
It's postseason.
Okay? It's get into the postseason and let's dance, baby. So if you do come back a little bit, good. I mean, I predicted 13 wins, so I didn't predict a big fall off. But if they go under my number, I'm good with that as long as they get into the playoffs. Now, if they get one bounced, yeah, I mean, we're going to have an issue. But, this is part of, look, we talked about it earlier, rich people problems. I mean, we're rich, folks. Eagle fans, we're rich, baby. We did it. We're rich, all right? We got rich people problems now.
I'm with John. Washington 1, Philly 2.
Oh, that is fucking ridiculous.
Dallas 3, the New York Giants.
I don't believe
4.
either one of you truly believe that. That's how much I don't believe you or John McMullen, if I put you on a polygraph, would say, oh yeah, I think the Commanders are going to win the NFC East this year. Bull fucking shit.
They haven't lost anything. They haven't lost anything from their team. They had it.
One winning season in 22 years, and Sileo is ready to crown him.
Wait, no. One winning season with him. Dude, wait a minute. They've had it. They haven't lost.
0-2 when Jalen Hurts plays versus us.
Oh, no. Yeah. Baker Mayfield owns him. So you want to go there? Okay.
Mayfield's the only guy on our roster that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have a losing record to. Both. Jalen has a losing record to Dak because he's 1-2 because Dak misses like every freaking game now. I mean, but Todd Bowles is the only coach that we play next year that Nick Sirianni has a losing record to.
Was it 1-2?
Yep. Or is it 1-3? Might be 1-3.
Is it?
Nick?
No, I think it's 1-2. Yeah, no. Oh, wait, it is 1-3.
Because there was.
Yeah, like, God, isn't that weird? It's all about matchups, man. And guess what? He's 1-1, I think. No, wait a minute. Jalen is what?
Yeah, he's 1-4, including a pair of playoff games.
Nick Sirianni's 1-4 versus the Bucs?
Or is he 1-3? I'm seeing Todd Bowles has led his team to wins over Nick Sirianni's Eagles in 4 of their 5 meetings, including a pair of playoff games. That's from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Am I reading this wrong?
No, that sounds like 1-4 to me, too.
I thought it was 1-3, too.
Me, too. I thought it was 1-3.
No, this is NBC Sports Pro Football Talk. So, what's his name? Mike Florio's site.
Okay. He's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah, I know 0-2 in the playoffs. I knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because most of those games, they were all on the road, if I'm not mistaken. They never played them up at Lincoln Financial. So
yeah, look, Tampa Bay has our number. It's the one team that has our number, Sills. They really are.
And you're playing them this year, too.
Yeah, we're playing them. But, I mean, we played them last year and lost. So it's not the end of the world.
All right. Any more?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Let's get to them. Christopher Michael, what's up, brother? We got two from him. So the first one, he says, the league is soft as hell if they ban that play. I agree, brother.
Me too, man. You know what? For me, I think it's a stupid conversation. I'm with John, and I happen to agree with both the Lions and the Colts. Hey, man, these guys perfected it. If you don't like it, it's like banning the skyhook. just because you can't block it, bro.
Yeah.
It's a football play. You know, I think they're going to modify it, though. You know what they're going to do? I hear John talk. John's right. I forgot that they instituted that you could push a player from behind with multiple players to.
Yeah, no 5.
Yeah, and prior to that, that was against the rule. You couldn't do that. So they change. I think they'll probably go back and change that rule again. So you know what I would do? I'd run a wildcat down there with those guys. I would put Saquon under center, and I would just have Saquon run that play. I mean, dude, the Eagles are. This will have no effect on them. This will have. Do you think it has an effect if they ban it?
No, because the Eagles, all right, as great as we've been as the tush push, Carson Wentz converted.
Yeah, he was 17 to 20. No, he's 27 to 29.
He had a higher percentage than Jalen Hurts at this point. All right. And I'm not saying this to take away from Jalen. I'm just saying the Eagles, with their offensive line, with a quarterback who can run and who has strength, Wentz had as well. Maybe not as much as Jalen, but had as well. They're going to be in the fine spot. I'm not worried about the damn tush push. I mean, come on, who gives a fuck? Honestly,
that's right. It's like banning AI's crossover.
Yeah. Now let them be that. Let everybody else cry. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We don't give a shit what excuses it is. You want to get rid of the play? Good. Get rid of it. I don't give a shit. I'm going to beat you either way. That's the mentality that made the Eagles great last year. That's the mentality that we will have that will continue to win football games. Who gives a shit? But no, they shouldn't ban it. I'm with you.
Christopher Michael says merit badge for sure.
Christopher again says we got to draft or bring in linebackers or we're effed. Come on, Christopher. What are you, Sileo eyes? What are you taking, Sileo eyes edibles over there? We're fucked. What do you mean we're fucked?
Wow, look at Dak Prescott. He's down 30 pounds. He looks ready to roll. He said the number one thing I'm looking forward to is playing the Philadelphia Eagles.
What's Dak Prescott
down 33
Dakota?
Down 33 pounds. He's sitting at 205 down from 238. Hamstring is ready to rock. Expect him to see at the athleticism of his Lamar Jackson. He's ready to go, and he wants the Eagles.
Come on, Dakota Prescott. Ozempic Prescott.
Yes, sir.
Ozempic
Prescott.
Dakota got on that Ozempic. He was getting chunky. He said, I need to win some football games this year. I can't be getting hurt.
Yes,
Dakota is back. Look at Sileo trying to sell us on Dakota. The guy's got 2 playoff wins in 9 years. Jalen Hurts had 4 this season alone.
No, Jaden Daniels is better.
Way better.
Jaden Daniels is better, man.
Better is overrated, by the way. I want a winner. How about that? I want a motherfucker that wins when the lights are bright. I want.
He's 9-5 versus the Eagles.
Game. I want to win playoff games, Big Sills.
Talent's overrated. He's 9-5 versus Philly.
Okay, what in the regular season, right? What's he in the playoffs? Oh, yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. Nobody wants. Oh, yeah, right. 9-5 versus. I don't give a shit. He could be 15-0 versus the Eagles. He's 0-2 when it matters.
Well, then how come that matters when people say that Jalen has a winning record versus Josh Allen during the regular season?
Because the body of work is there. Jalen also wins in the playoffs.
Well, he's got a tougher road. He's got a tougher road to the playoffs. He's got to play against Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar. Who are you playing against? Dak and who?
I never said he didn't have to play.
There's a tougher road for those quarterbacks.
Yeah, but that doesn't work. So we just got done saying no excuses. Who cares? And now you're creating excuses for Josh.
No, it's not an excuse. It's facts.
Jalen got drafted to the Eagles. The Eagles are in the NFC.
Correct.
Jalen didn't decide to pick his conference.
Okay.
He's a playoff winner.
Hey, when you're in a shitty division,
Dakota.
When you're in a shitty division, I get it. You can get drafted to a shitty division. I'll make this point to you. I've always said this about Brady. Name me one team in Brady's 20 years that he played in the AFC East that gave New England a run in those 20 years. Who, the Jets? Who, the Dolphins? Who, the Bills? The Bills had 10 years of losing records. Brady benefited from being in the shittiest division in football for 20
By the way,
years.
Mahomes is too. Mahomes was too for the last 5
Oh,
years.
hey, so did Montana.
Yep.
For all, I think there's look, a lot of things have to line up sometimes. Sometimes you're in, it used to be the toughest division during my time was the NFC East. That's why the NFC East is so hard to repeat. Do you know it's the only division in football that every team in the division's won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, and it's one of the most. Yeah, look, and Touche says it's the most competitive division in football. I would agree from a macro. Maybe on every given year, it's not. Like last year, the NFC North was crazy, but yeah, overall, I think you're probably right, Touche, when you look at the whole body of work. But yeah, by the way, you brought up your boy Joshy Poo. Joshy Poo. Okay,
Yep.
Joshy Poo. Are you gonna win, Joshy Poo?
I was 65. Put $65 million. Joshy
I wasn't talking about Joshy Poo though. I'm talking about Dakota, who's been a 9-year NFL starter in the NFC East, and he has 2 playoff wins. There's no excuses for that guy.
No,
he had the number 1 offense 3 years. How many All-Pros or Pro Bowlers did they have on those teams when they had the number 1 offense?
I agree.
He stinks.
No,
he doesn't stink. He's a regular season merchant.
I don't think Prescott stinks.
I don't either. I think Dak is better than most Eagles fans think he is. He is what he is.
Would you put him in the top 50?
Regular season?
Would you put him in the top 10?
When he's on his game, yeah, he's top 10. When he's on his game. But he's never on his game in the playoffs. So, what are we doing? It's like if I go to practice, I'm like, hey, that guy's really good if he shows up, but he never shows up. We're like, well, I don't want him. I mean, he doesn't show up. It's like Nakobe Dean. He's a great player, but he gets injured all the time. And you're like, well, I don't want him. He's injured all the time. Same with Dak. Hey, the guy's got a great arm. Hey, he's real accurate. Hey, he can do this. Wait, but every time you go to the playoffs, he stinks. Oh, well, then I don't want him.
Do you think the Dallas locker room likes him?
I don't know. He doesn't seem like a bad leader to me. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. I don't know. Maybe some resentment for playoff, failures and making $65 million. Maybe some animosity there.
If you were in that locker room and you saw a guy making the second most amount of money, and every time this guy gets in the playoffs, he shits and bites the bit. And all of a sudden, this guy's throwing the who knows who in that Green Bay game. And this guy, all of a sudden, you turn around the following year after that performance, you give him a contract that makes him the highest paid player at the time. And he's won only 4 games. I don't know, bro. How many playoff games is it? 2? How many playoff games? I mean, you give a guy a raise of $60 million, and he's got 2 playoff wins.
Yeah, but at what point does he look
6-2?
At what point does the organization, like, I think people in Dallas know, like, the organization is stupid. So you can't be mad at Dak for maximizing his earnings.
Yeah, but wouldn't you, as a player, if you're in that locker room, you're going like this? Hang on here, man. What are we rewarding here? I mean, do you just throw bad money after bad money in Dallas? Isn't that what it looks? See, that's the one thing. Don't we not agree with the Eagles? The Eagles really don't throw. Look, even the Bryce Huff move made sense. You lost Reddick. You wanted an edge rusher.
Right.
Now, the player may have bombed, but the idea wasn't bad. I mean, you're throwing money after Dak, $60 million. I'm like, where are we going with this? Where are we going here?
The barometer has shifted, everybody in Philly, all right? And it should have shifted for all of us. We no longer get caught up in regular season.
Oh.
Even if we split with the Cowboys next year, I don't give a shit because we care about playoffs. Cowboy fans care about going 12-5 and splitting with the Eagles. Okay? We don't care about that shit.
You don't, Dave.
No.
All right. The Cowboys. You don't care about the Cowboys. You're champions now. Even with that Swiss cheese defense now. You feel pretty good. That Swiss cheese defense.
Oh, let's say.
Uche Coochie playing Ed.
You said the same thing last year.
Yeah, I know.
You called him Lindbergh. What'd you call him? Lindbergh cheese, right?
No, you're right.
I see you retired that name.
I'm with Angelo here. I think that's going to be
his track record on Jacob is particularly glowing.
Hold on. Oh, no. Look at you, man. You got all the replacements, don't you?
What a fucking – you told me this last year. The Eagle fan was right the whole year last year. All right? They're going to be right again. I'm done listening to you schmucks. Again, if I put you and J-Mac on a polygraph, neither one of you would pick the Commanders to win the East.
John McMullen agrees with Big Sills, and that never happens.
No, he doesn't.
The Commanders are the best team in the East.
No, they're not. They're not even close. They're not even
I even
close.
heard your boy up the coast say it.
No, stop.
They did it?
Freddie Lemus checks in. He says, if Jordan Davis were to reach his potential, what do the stats look like? Best team against the run in the NFL. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like any sort of stats sheet on numbers on a stat sheet.
Does anybody know what Vita Vea makes?
I think 17.75. I looked this up before because of Jordan.
Yeah, I'm not paying him that. He's not that player.
And Vita signed that deal a couple of years ago.
But I made the comment last week. You need an exceptional nose.
How about what Poona Ford got?
You know, that kid's 5'11".
You know, he's good against the run.
Is that the Texas kid?
He just signed with the Rams.
Was that the kid that was up at Seattle? And he was, I think he's 5'11", played at the University of Texas. If I think that's who I think it is.
5'11"? Is he that short?
Yeah.
Let me see.
He's 5'11".
He did play with the Seahawks. You're right about that. And then I think he went to the –
he might have been
got traded last year, I think. Or he went somewhere else. I know he went somewhere else. Is he 5'11"?
I think he's 5'10", 5'11".
Let me look this up.
He's not 6 feet. I know he's not. But he is a run-stopping.
He's 5'11", you're right. Yeah, 5'11", 311. He's a run-stopping machine, though, for sure. He got 3 years, $27 million, $9 million a year.
Wow. All right. So you're still thinking so where do you think they land when it comes to top 10 defense?
What'd you say? I'm laughing at Brian Pumper's dumbass comment. Brian says, this dude Zander loves Poona Ford. He be name dropping Buddy all the time. Yes, sir, Pumper. Yes, sir. We got our own Poona Ford in Philly, baby. Jordan Davis. Woo!
Shit, that defense. Defense. I think that defense will finish 12th.
Oh, I already told you, top 5. Easy money.
Top 5.
You want to make a list of? We got to make a list of our working bets this year.
No shit. Top 5.
What was our other bet? Can someone in the chat remind me?
That's going to be a top 5 defense with all those, with no Slay,
top 5
D linemen. So you've lost 2 guys in your secondary of your 4 and 2 in your front 4, and you're top 5.
They'll be top 5 with a floor of 8.
Let me get the fuck out of here, man. You're risk too much.
A floor of 8.
A floor of 8. Really? A floor of 8.
Let's see. Let's see what happens, Sileo.
Hey, by the way, we got Craig Carton on tomorrow.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
We got Craig Carton.
Angelo was off. He must have been at the dispensary this weekend picking up that new strain called Sileo-ized. Because he was on here. I don't know what he was saying.
You can drop it into hookah at any time.
I mean, if you just got dropped on the earth from Mars and you listened to Dan and Angelo today, you would have thought the Eagles won 3 games last year and were the worst team in the NFL.
This is everything after February 10th, my son.
Wait a second. On my way out, let me show somebody. Let me show you all something, okay? Don't let Sileo get to you. Okay? Do not let him get to you, and I'll show you.
That's a good shirt.
I'll show you why, okay? 50 days ago, everybody. You know what 50 days ago was? 50 days ago. 50 days. 50 days. 50 days ago was February 9th. February 9th was the day that the Eagles won their second Super Bowl in franchise history. This right here is a look at the final 17 games the Philadelphia Eagles played last year. Holy shit! They were 16-1, and their only loss, they were without their starting quarterback. 9 of the games you see on this list, they won by double digits. 9 of them. They were a dominant football team.
What a great team that used to be. What an unbelievable team that was. I could just remember, like, Angelo bought that hat. And you know what? It's kind of like an RIP. Rest in peace to the greatest Eagle defense ever assembled. Congratulations. Rest in peace. What a great team.
16-1 with a Fugazi loss.
And they lost 13 ball players who were contributors to that record. Congratulations.
16-1, and we won 9 games by double digits, including double-digit wins over the Cowboys, the Bengals, the Rams, all sorts of teams.
Unbelievable.
We blew them all out, including the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl.
Too bad. Too bad that team's gone. It's like a ship setting out to sail. No. All out there with no one on board anymore. How you doing?
Because we lost Joshy Poo and Milton.
Oh, no, because I'm going to replace him with Mojo Mojo.
They weren't even top 15 on team importance.
I'm gonna replace him with Moro Okajuma.
We had 22 starters and lost 17-22, and Sileo wants us to act.
And I'm gonna have Ringo Starr playing corner for me this year. Congratulations to you, kid. Keely Ringo.
There's questions there. We'll see what happens.
Zander, babe, we'll catch you in the morning, brother.
All right, brother. See you, man. Good stuff.
You got it, my good friends. You guys are awesome. Please do me a favor. Please hit that like button. I'll tell you what, he's right, though. That was pretty impressive. 16-1. Holy shit. And that team did destroy teams, including the final game. They ended up destroying the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you, Cody. Let's get that bad puppy up to 250. Let's see if we can hit that number by the end of the program. Don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan. The #1 injury law firm in America is Morgan & Morgan. With over $20 billion in recovery for families across the country, no question about it, with the thousands of attorneys that they have, they will make sure they get what's rightly yours when it comes to getting these insurance companies to pay their fair share. That's exactly what Morgan & Morgan does. Look, we understand one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make is getting an insurance company that does the right thing. Morgan & Morgan will make sure that they make that insurance company do the right thing. For more info, go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sill sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident,